If you're trying to earn a Boston qualification or just run your personal best during your next marathon, then today's strength session is one you're going to want to do. This session has been a staple in my early season or early training block for the past 3 years, and it has helped me qualify for Boston the past 3 years as well. There's a focus on plyometrics and strength of the quadriceps, hamstrings, and calves that has helped keep me healthy and keep me strong while reaching the finish line and on my way to Boston. All you'll need are a couple weights and some space, and you'll be good to go. Let's get started.
All right, so I've done 40 minutes on the bike already, just doing an easy aerobic pace for a warm-up, and now it's time to resistance train. Now, I am in season training for a marathon, so the lifting is gonna look a little bit different than if I was out of season, where I'd have more time to focus on that, and my running volume would be down a little bit for a while. But because I'm gonna begin ramping up my volume with running, this workout is gonna be a staple workout pretty much through my training block. And now we're gonna be focusing on plyometrics to start, because we want our power exercises to be at the beginning. We'll do one main strength exercise, which today is a rear foot elevated split squat, or what we call a Bulgarian split squat, followed by some other hamstring and calf work, because those have been issues for me in the past. So I want to make sure that the tendons and muscles have good tissue capacity to withstand the amount of volume that I'm going to be throwing at them. And those are going to be a variation of a bridge and a heel raise of some sort. There will be some single leg deadlifting in there as well as an accessory to the rear foot elevated split squat. Now, this is just what has worked for me. This was a staple workout as I put together 3 Boston qualifying marathons in a row, but that might be a little bit different for you because we all have different needs and preferences as far as what we're gonna lift. But I'll take you through what I'm gonna do, 1 set of each, and I'll leave it up to you to perform the 3 to 5 prescribed sets of each of these. Most of them are done on 1 minute rest. So if you are following along, you'll just repeat, pause the video, take a minute rest, and continue on once the next exercise shows up. So let's get going. So I'm gonna be doing 3 sets of pogos. I do between 10 and 15 repetitions because we want to keep our reps roughly about the 40 number in any given session for a plyometric for a specific tendon or bone, because we know that bones actually fatigue just like muscles, tendons, and our nervous system. And so we want to be respectful of that. And now you're catching me on my 2nd set of pogos. I've already done 1 set of 15. I'm going to be doing 2 more sets. So I'm going to put the microphone down here in a second. And once again, 1 minute of rest. I'm doing 15 pogos, but a safe place to start would be about 5 repetitions. I have done 3 sets of pogos for roughly about 45 reps. I'm going to be moving on to some single leg hopping. So this is going to be a little bit more excursion through the knee and the hip. So we're going to be working on the tendon and bone strength a little bit higher up the chain. So a little bit more femur, pelvis. Still going to be driving through the tibia to work on the bone strength there, but very explosive to help work with propulsion. Because we know that the lower extremities and the tendons work as springs to propel us forward. It's not necessarily our muscles just creating all that force. The tendons actually will store and release that force, which does propel us forward. So I am only going to be doing 1 set of 12 forward single leg hops and 1 set of 12 backwards single leg hops on each leg. Now this does take some room. I have about 60 feet here, maybe a little bit more, that I can do safely. You're going to see the first couple reps I do. I'd say you want to reduce the amount of time you spend on the ground with each repetition, trying to jump high but also far, making a powerful repetition. And just like the pogos, I would start with about 5 repetitions, not the 12 that I'm working with. Once again, I've been doing this for years, so we want to respect our bodies, start really easily, because plyometrics are very taxing to the bones, tendons, ligaments, and nervous system. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so now with backwards hops, You're not going to be jumping as far, but once again, you want to make sure you have safe space. I have a nice little runway here. I know that if I stay between these two lines on the mat, I'm pretty safe. Once again, I can't jump as far, so I can't bang into any of the benches or weights or sled that I have down there. So once again, I'm going to be doing 12 on each side, and this is just one set of each of these, unlike the pogos, which were 3. We're going to move on to some marching for our calves after that, and then we're getting into the good stuff. All right, follow along. Okay, so we're going to be doing a penguin march. With the penguin march, we're up on our toes, and we're just kind of waddling back and forth to propel ourselves forward. But because we want to work on being fatigued but staying tall while running, because it is more efficient, I'm going to be taking a bumper plate and going overhead with this. Now, this does not have to be a bumper plate. It could be a backpack full of some weights. It could be a dumbbell held by the edges. It could even be a kettlebell, although that would be a little awkward to hold overhead. And for those of you who aren't comfortable putting a weight overhead, but still want to get the benefit of working your calves a little bit in an isometric way, just a dowel or a PVC pipe overhead will do. Now, I'm going for a minute, but when I first started these guys out, I was going for 30 seconds at a time. At that time, I was also recovering from a calf injury, so just let that guide what you do with this. I'd say that a minute is probably safe if it's unloaded. If you're going to add some weight, maybe start in more towards the 30-second range. So once again, follow along. This is going to be for 2 sets. We're doing 2 sets of penguin marches, and then we're getting to the good stuff. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm going to keep chugging along here. Now I've got my main strength exercise of the session coming. This is a rear foot elevated split squat. I like these a lot for runners because our quads are the main braking muscle. While we run, they work extremely hard. If the calves propel us forward, the quads slow our leg down so we can swing through in the swing phase and keep going forward. Okay, so something has to slow us down when we land, and that's primarily going to be the quads. Everything is always working in unison, but the quads are going to do most of that work. So they need to be strong, they need to have good endurance, and they need to be able to withstand all those steps, especially if you're going to be doing any hilly courses. Just got off of Boston. I hadn't been able to strength train for a little bit. My quads felt it a lot, okay? They told me, hey, remember all that strength work that you used to be doing? Now that you can get back into it, it's going to be really helpful. So I've already found my 8-rep working max, meaning that I know I can do 4 sets of 8 with this, but I'm going to bump down so I can progress back up. I'm going to start safely, just kind of get into a groove, but I do double progressions, meaning that once I can get 4 sets of 6 comfortably with one weight, the next time I do this session, it will be 4 sets of 8. If I can get that comfortably, the next time it'll be 4 sets of 10. Now that 4 sets of 10 is usually a reach because I'm reaching more towards the maximum of my working weight. But once I get 4 by 10, I then drop back down and do 4 by 6, but with a little bit more weight. So I'm going to be doing 4 sets of 6 on each leg. You're only going to see 1 set, but it'll be 4 sets of 6 with 60 seconds of rest between the second leg and repeating the first leg, okay? So it's not 60 seconds when the time I finish one leg, do the other, and then right back into the other. It's if I were doing my right leg first, then I do my left leg, then I rest 1 minute. So here we go, 4 sets of 6. Moving right on to single leg deadlifts. Once again, really good for posterior chain, the hamstrings and glutes, but also balance and just foot strength as well. Now, a little note on the balance part. A lot of people are talking about short foot and keep your weight here and maybe in your heel. Don't worry about any of that stuff. What you want to worry about is just having even pressure throughout your entire foot. That's all we're going for here with the single leg deadlift. Now, I'm doing 3 sets of 6 with 60 seconds of rest between the second leg and repeating the first leg. But if you need a little bit more rest, totally understandable. 3 sets of 6 to 5 sets of 6 twice a week of a hamstring dominant, glute dominant exercise. Once again, shown to be great for strengthening We're not really concerned about hypertrophy at this point, although if you're new to it, you might see some muscle mass gains if you're eating accordingly. But we're looking to just improve strength. Now, once again, I'll be doing 3 sets of 6. Next time I do this, I'll probably be doing 3 sets of 8. And then if I'm feeling strong, the next time 3 sets of 10 and progressing accordingly after that back down to 3 sets of 6, but with more weight. So you want to just make sure that your back leg is staying nice and straight as you go down. Your front leg bends a little bit, and hips trying to stay square to the floor. So not bending over and opening up your hips, but actually keeping them down to the floor. So you'll get a little bit more of a stretch reflex through the working hip. So here we go. This is going to be like direct hamstring work. There's some glutes involved, obviously, with the bridge, but my main focus here is going to be on my hamstrings. Now, when I was qualifying for Boston previously, I was actually using this green rubber band to work on my hip flexors as well, because I had a tendency to cramp in my quads and hip flexors later on in the race, which did slow me down. But for today, I'm going to be going a little bit more hamstring focused and doing a slider variation of a long lever bridge. Now, a typical bridge will have people line up with their feet and ankles underneath their knees and just kind of go up and down. With a long lever bridge, you're getting your foot away from your butt, and we're going to focus on having roughly about a 30-degree bend in your knee at maximum, maybe a little bit less, get a little bit more extended out there, but it's really going to light up your hamstrings. Now, if you don't have furniture sliders or sliders here, you can just do bridging with a 30-degree bend in your knee. Now, I will warn you, if you don't have strong hamstrings, the risk of cramping with this is extremely high. You might want to start just slowly working your heels away from your butt as you do more of these. Consider like your heels underneath your knees 90 degrees. Try to work your way out maybe 60 degrees, 45 degrees, 30 degrees of knee flexion as you go. So as I do this, I'm going to be doing 8 repetitions for 3 sets. Once again, 1 minute rest. But take what you need. 1 minute rest is pretty much the minimum I would go with, but anywhere up to about 3 minutes is okay. 2 minutes is another sweet spot as well, according to the literature. So you're going to put these down. You need just a surface that you can slide on. Towels on a linoleum floor or vinyl floor or wood floor usually work okay, but that's on you to check to make sure it's fine. I got my sliders and I got a rubber floor. So here we go, 3 sets of 8, and then we're going to be going through some heel raises, and that's going to be that. So, all right. All right, bridges are done. Moving on to single leg heel raises, which in my opinion are one of the most poorly performed exercises in most people's running resistance programs. Most people are just kind of just going up and down, bouncing up and down through the motions. We're not going to get the adaptations we're looking for in our tendons or muscles doing that. We're looking for heavy, slow resistance. And that goes for most of these things. As you see, I don't move terribly quick when I am lifting, and that is on purpose. Okay, if I wanted to build speed with my lifting, I would be moving quickly. But the speed comes from doing the plyometrics and from running and doing running workouts. The strength and tissue adaptations that I'm looking for usually occur from the heavy, slow resistance training. Now, another thing I see when people are doing heel raises is that, once again, they go straight up when they should have their heel back behind their butt. It will give you more tendon and muscular adaptations that way. But also because people will do this, and some people will do it with a slant board, but I prefer on the flat on the floor, is there's going to be a tendency for people to want to dive their head forward when now that your heel's behind your butt, you still want to focus on going straight up. The last little piece of this is that as people go up, they're going to want to roll their foot out onto their small toes. You want to keep your weight on your big toe. Okay, that's going to bias the medial gastroc, which is pretty important for running. So just we want to focus on keeping our weight on that big toe as we go up. Now, 6 to 8 repetitions because we want to maintain or maybe build a little bit of strength just because I am at the beginning of my training block. If this were the end of my training block, if I were 4 weeks out, I'm probably just going to sail through, not adjust any of my weights. Even if 3 sets of 8 repetitions is fairly easy, I am just going to stick with that. I don't want to load a bunch of fatigue on top while I am peaking for my marathon in a couple months. So right now, if I can get 3 sets of 6 to 8 really easily, next time through, I'll probably bump up in weight. But for now, I have a 62 pounder. You can do this with a barbell on your back. You can do this with some of those machines at the gym as long as your setup is somewhat similar. I'm going to be using this block here, but it could be a bench, a chair, a couch, a coffee table, whatever it is. So follow along, and I'm doing 3 sets of 6 to 8 reps.
Thanks for following along today, and please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and leave your questions below.